Hi.
Well, hello.
How's it going?
It's good. The other half says hi, by the way.
Oh, hello. Why aren't you on the show?
There you go. Hi.
Hi.
She's making dinner and then probably going in the room. So
Okay. All right.
yeah, in the morning again.
Well, we're going to start by welcoming everybody to the Saturday Night MNSpiritCast. We hope you all had a great day. And you're ready for the next hour of paranormal fun. And last week we did our neighboring state of North Dakota. This time we're doing the eastern neighbor of Michigan. And our guest is a returning guest. But before we bring him on, I want everybody to check out our sponsors of Dubby Energy, Schneider Customs, Crafty Rebel Creations, and Provoke Paranormal. You won't be disappointed with any of these. Lots of custom design products, energy drink powders, all kinds of stuff. Check it out. Links are below. Let's not keep him waiting too long. But first, this is Casey, my co-host and lead technician for the team. We got some good news for you guys after the show tonight, so stay tuned. Everybody, welcome returning guest Bryce Martin from the Great Lakes state of Michigan. Welcome.
How we doing, guys?
Not bad. Good. You?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there.
I hear you. You know, if I recall right, you have not been on this show yet. You were on my show that we canceled after the first season.
Yeah. I think it was the last show that I was on, actually.
Yep. I believe so. So we're into the fourth season, and I can't believe it's our first time bringing you back on.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's give the MNSpiritCast fans a dose of what you are all about, what Michigan is about, and what they have to offer for all of our paranormal investigators. So, first of all, let's talk a little bit about why you started studying paranormal.
Okay, so when I was probably about, I was really young. My mother worked at a university, actually still works there, but she knew one of the professors there, Dr. Lewis Cohen, and he was really interested in the paranormal and studied a lot of parapsychology, and he would show me all sorts of pictures and stuff like that from trips he took overseas with students and stuff like that to various locations, and it got me interested. He would talk to me for hours about it every time he was over, and I always wanted to try it. And I tried it once when I was maybe 10 or 12 with him, and then as I grew up into my teen years, I decided to keep going. Between that interest and other personal experiences that I had that got me more and more interested, I watched the shows, I did my research, and started studying more and more about it, and developed one of probably the biggest teams for a while in Michigan for paranormal investigating. And then I decided to move, and everyone kind of moved on with their lives, so that team kind of fizzled out. But I'm still working somewhat solo with my fiance on some more smaller scale projects now with the new team that I just rebranded. And
all right,
that's where I got my start.
Awesome. So after you started, so was Michigan Bay Paranormal Team, was that your very first team that you owned or even a part of?
Yep, that was my very first team, and we worked with other groups. We like commingled with a bunch of other groups for a while, especially for the short amount of time I was in college, and my ex-wife was also in college at the time, and there was a college group that did a lot of investigating and such, and we commingled with them along with a couple other local teams, but for the most part, that was the only team I was actually on because it was my baby. I started it, and it's still the same thing. It's just named Au Sable Valley Paranormal Research Society now instead of Michigan Bay Paranormal Team because of where I moved to and where I live. It didn't make sense to have my name for a place that I no longer lived.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, previously you mentioned that you had one of the biggest paranormal teams in Michigan. Define biggest team, like
those are my dogs.
Are we talking, when we say the biggest, are we talking like the amount of members?
Members, what we handled, our coverage area, our equipment. We we're on a couple TV shows. We're on a couple podcasts. Did some investigating for a bunch of different groups. We went out of state a lot, so just it was we were one of the more well known, I believe, for a little while, and we were actually
Sure.
at one
Okay.
point working on part TV series that we were going to release on YouTube and part podcast as well that we were going to air, but it just kind of fizzled out with people going different directions with life and just not enough following for it. It wasn't worth it to put that much time and effort into it if we couldn't get the following, and there were a few things we were inexperienced, so if we could have done things differently. And I don't know where it's going to go, because the show was named Uncovering the Unseen, which is actually still my YouTube series, and but whether I'll restart it or not, it's all kind of up in the air right now, man, on what I'm going to do, what direction I'm going to head with it.
Okay. With that being said, since you last joined our show, a lot has changed. So, first of all, you've taken a little bit of a step back from the paranormal. Was this so you could rebrand? I know the marathon had a big role in that. Exactly, what was the purpose of stepping back a little?
Yeah, at first it was just kind of for a while it was kind of disappointment. We weren't getting the following we wanted for Uncovering the Unseen because we worked really hard on it. And then I started developing other hobbies, such as canoe racing, which I am a paddler in the Au Sable River Canoe Marathon, which starts right here in Grayling, Michigan.
Oh.
And as well as a downhill skier. And then I moved, so that didn't help either. I moved up here to Grayling from Bay City. So that's kind of the step back. And with how much equipment and how much setup we did and everything like that, and trying to find cases, it was difficult to do. And so I just kind of wanted to downsize a bit, make it a little more like, if I go out on an investigation, I don't want to be setting up 10 voice recorders, 8 static cams. That's a lot of stuff to review, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest. So so I'd rather just do like one voice recorder, K2 meter, one camera, and just explore. What would be more my style now if and when we get back into it, because I've always been part of the paranormal. It's never gonna leave me. I'm always, if I find a case or if someone needs help or I find a place that's interesting that I want to check out, it's always going to happen. Like, it's not something I can ever get out of, because it's been something that's a part of my life for 20 plus years now.
Sure.
So, but as far as a huge team to manage of people that I don't know if they can show up until the day of or not, and then traveling hundreds of miles and setting up all this outrageous amounts of equipment, that's just not something I'm really interested in doing anymore. If that makes sense.
I mean, and it's a very time-consuming hobby.
Right.
It's a very expensive hobby, because if a lot of people didn't know, a lot of our teams are funded out of our pockets, including ours. You know, I fund our team strictly out of my pocket. Everybody does pay their own way into their investigations, but everything is self-funded. So we don't have no government funds. We don't have, no donations unless we do a fundraiser or something.
Right. And I know a couple clients we have donated to our team in the past, but that's strictly up to them. It's not not up to us. Like, whatever they feel that we're worth, I mean, we'll accept it with open arms, but if they can't donate, then it is what it is. And a lot of the times, if you're traveling to famously haunted locations, you're actually footing the bill. You're paying to investigate there, as opposed to getting paid to investigate. I know a couple of the TV shows we were on, they bought us dinner and stuff like that. And paid for a hotel for the night or whatever, depending on where we're investigating. But they never gave us any money for those either, because it wasn't like I was the star of the show. I was just on an episode of their show.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Right.
There you go. That's perfect. And it's out of the kindness of their hearts. It's not very professional of us to go and say, you owe us $500 for this case.
Right.
So
right, correct.
That's just not realistic. So, Bryce, since you came on our show last, it is a different show, but we're in our 4th season, and to celebrate our 4th season, we're asking our guests 4 of the paranormal hotspots in their state. What are 4 places in Michigan that you have found the most unspeakable activity?
Oh, that's a tough call. Let's start with, right by my hometown is Parashani. It's all that's left of it is a cemetery, but it was an old logging town in the late 1800s, early 1900s that basically got swept off the map from disease and fires and stuff like that. And the only thing that's left is a cemetery, and there's some holes in the ground where buildings used to be. But it was a fairly big town that was just south of where I live right now, and it's completely gone now. Like, the only evidence that ever existed were the holes in the ground and a cemetery.
Wow.
Yep. So that's a pretty active one. I haven't really caught anything there. I've been out there a couple times, but haven't really caught anything. But I know a lot of people have had experiences there. One of my personal favorites was the Richard C. Burtis house, which is out in the Thumb. We investigated that place up and down, left and right. We're friends with the previous owners of it, and we caught a lot of activity there. They started by calling us, asking for help, and it's an old historic house, and it was, and that place is fairly active from what we could find. A place that I've never been but would like to is both Mackinac Island is very haunted, supposedly. Like, the entire island was like originally a base for the War of 1812, I believe is when it was. I'm going off the top of my head. I'm not reading this, so and like everywhere on the island has hot spots, and I've been there, but I haven't been there to investigate. But a lot of people have had experiences and seen things, and I would love a chance to get into a location there. And anywhere on Mackinac Island would be awesome to be able to investigate. And then probably my favorite location I've ever been to is this other bed and breakfast that's out in the Thumb, but it's a little further south from Richard C. Burtis house, and it's a way bigger building, and it's the William Peters Mansion, and that place was just really cool. Like, it's not very well known, I don't think, but it's so cool. Like, the history, the intricacy in the house, it's just not even like the paranormal stories. I'll be honest, it was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what their claims were there, but just the house itself was awesome. It was, and that's what I really like about this. I don't even know if it's so much the paranormal any aspect of it. I mean, of course that's great, and you want to catch stuff, but I like the historical side of it as well. Like, it's awesome. And some of these buildings and places that I've been, a lot of people can't say that they've been to Waverly Hills Sanatorium or Bobby Mackey's Music World and gotten a real one-on-one experience with the history there.
Right.
So
absolutely, yeah.
So those would probably be my 4 off the top of my head.
All right. Awesome.
And dozens and dozens more.
Right. Yeah, we all have a really long list. We'll probably never cover all of our locations.
Right.
So
She's just fucking fat.
Hey, Casey, you want to take over the show? I think my daughter just fell off of something.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so where have you been across the country or just around Michigan that you've been to?
Nope. I've been to a few places out of the country. I've been to Bobby Mackey's Music World in Waverly Hills Sanatorium. My team went to the Villisca Axe Murder House in Des Moines, Iowa. I was not able to go on that one. But I also went to another place in Iowa. I'm trying to remember the place. And then a place in Pennsylvania, which both of those were really cool. And I wish I could remember them. For the life of me, I can't. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can pull them up here on my computer real quick to remember the places, because they were those were probably I love traveling for this, and I love traveling in general, so that is one of the let's see, Hillview Manor,
Yep.
which was the place in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Yep.
And the place in Iowa was, oh man, I don't have it on here, but yeah, it was like an old it was a mental hospital, which could have been Hillview Manor, but
it could be. Yeah, it's Hillview, because I remember watching it on a few shows. So yeah, it's Hillview Manor.
Yep, Hillview was in Pennsylvania, so Iowa was. I wish I could remember it, man. I'll be honest with you. It's been quite a few years, but it was a really cool location, and I know that. I just can't remember the name of it.
Ah, there he is. Oh, there he is.
All good?
Yeah, we're good. She was trying to get up on something, so she's
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Kids.
Oh yeah, kids. Mine's whining in the background a little bit right now.
Yep, you would know if mine was. She's pretty loud.
Yeah, he can be. I think his mom's trying to keep him quiet.
Well, we won't keep you too long.
Daddy.
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good. She's got him for now. So yeah, but Hillview Manor was really cool, and that, which was in Pennsylvania, and then for the life of me, I can't remember the place in Iowa, but
Edinburgh Manor.
Edinburgh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Edinburgh Manor. Yeah. So those. Yeah, those are both.
Think of it.
Yep. And then Bobby Mackey's is awesome. That's one of my favorite locations, and it's a shame it's about to be torn down, actually.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, but at the same time,
get in there before it happens.
Yeah, it would be awesome. That building's it is in rough shape, though. I will say that. Just like having walked through the basement and everything like that, I know it's in quite rough shape. So
yeah.
So it sucks that history has to go. But as far as people going in there every weekend to dance on those floors, I don't know about that.
You might end up underground sometime.
Yeah.
So were those your bucket list places, or what did I miss here?
Those are places I've been. He asked where I've been. That's out of the state of Michigan.
Oh, okay. Yep. Perfect. So with that being said, what are your bucket list places outside of Michigan?
You know, I'm going to get, is it okay if I ruffle some feathers? This one might be not very politically correct, but
go for it.
I would love to investigate Auschwitz.
Yes.
But you have to be super respectful while you're there. You'd have to be very respectful of anything that was there. And I know it would be a crazy place and probably controversial, but I think that place would be extremely active.
You know, that's one that I haven't heard yet. That's a really good answer. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, but like I said, you would have to be very respectful and very careful how you approached it if you were going to do an investigation there. And I doubt they would ever let it happen.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but, or Gettysburg would be a cool one. I mean, I know that's on a lot of people's lists. So that's why I
Yeah.
said Auschwitz instead, because
Yeah.
Gettysburg is going to be on every American ghost hunter's list.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
a couple of my former members, have been to Gettysburg before. Never really investigated it, but they said it was pretty cool. So
I actually heard a story of this guy, a reenactor, because they do the whole sleep on the battlefield and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I heard the story of a reenactor that was out there, not a ghost hunter. He was just a reenactor. He was doing one of the Gettysburg reenactments, and he knows a guy that was asleep in his tent, and a few soldiers came in. They're like, come on, we got to go. Like in the middle of the night, we got to go. Let's go. We got to go over this hill. He's like, okay, guys, let's go. So, he's thinking he's reenacting, and he starts running across the hill, and these other guys that he's with just disappear into thin air.
Wow.
whoa.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure that place is really active. But, as much as, like, I've seen and heard a couple things I can't explain, but as long as I've been in the field, I really haven't had a earth-shattering experience like that. And I think it's partially because the way my team did operate, my old team, Michigan Bay Paranormal Team, and the way my new team will operate once I get it up and fully running, we take a very skeptical approach to it. I mean, I might hurt your guys' feelings, but I don't like your orb pictures. I'm sorry. I don't, to any investigators. And it's not that it's not necessarily paranormal. You might not be able to have a good explanation for it. But
Right.
in the same sense, if you're trying to present yourself and prove to skeptics that this is something that's going on, any skeptic in the world that's going to look at that orb is going to say, that's dust, that's a spider, that's this. So whenever I caught any form of orb, I just wouldn't even look at them. Look at them. Like if I'd see them all the time on cameras and stuff like that, zigzagging in and out, left and right, and I just like, yep, whatever.
Right.
Because my perception of evidence is you're not presenting this to, the way I looked at it was, you're not presenting this to other believers, but you're trying to convince non-believers.
Sure.
And if there's a chance that that orb was something natural, why would I scare a homeowner or something like that into thinking your house is haunted if it's in all likelihood dust?
Right.
Like, and I did a lot more disproving than I did proving, to be honest, when I was active, which is what you have to do if you want to be reputable anyway. If you want to be reputable on the field, you have to disprove first, and then whatever's left. Yep.
Absolutely.
So, and honestly, the more I investigated, believe it or not, like a lot of people become like big name people such as Zach Bagans and stuff. They become more and more believers. The more I investigated, the more skeptical I became, because the more stuff I found, like that I thought was a ghost when I was 15. Now, like with a more mature and experienced approach to it, I was like, oh yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So I became more skeptical as I investigated longer, to be honest with you. So, I mean,
and with that being said, you kind of covered it, but what, in your opinion, what's the importance of debunking your evidence?
Oh, it's extremely important. You, when in doubt, throw it out. If you hear a whisper, but you think there's a chance it's another group of people in another room, I mean, it's hard to present that with a straight face to
Yes.
and feel good about yourself. I mean, I always like, if I presented some evidence that I would always present evidence if I was presenting it to, like, I did maybe I did a couple things for a couple universities where I did it for the classroom. And whenever I showed them the stuff, like voices, whether it be EVPs or photos or videos, whenever I showed it to them, I'd be like, it's up to you. If you think it's paranormal, then it's yours. But even like my most profound evidence, I wouldn't be like, this is a ghost. I'd be like, what do you think it is?
Right.
If you could give me, because if you can give me a better answer and you can say, hey, no, it's not this, there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for that, I'll believe you. If it's a good answer. And I think a lot of people these days in the paranormal field, the thing that bugs me about it is, I don't want to say anything bad, but a lot of people want to be haunted. Like they want stuff. And like when you watch Ghost Hunters, like the old Ghost Hunters episodes, and they'd show they'd show them telling the family that there's nothing there. Like, this is what we found. There's nothing at your house that we couldn't explain through natural causes. The people would be all happy. I'm so happy they could do this. That's not what it's like in real life. You tell someone that you found natural explanations. Oh yeah, but what about this or this? It's like, no, you just want there to be a ghost at your house because it makes you think you're special. And I've seen people that are actually haunted. You don't want that. You don't want to actually be haunted. It's not a good experience.
Right.
And on top of that, there's a lot of gullible people in this that are interested in this field, that one TV show or something, completely staged show told them this is a ghost. So now every single time they see that, it's a ghost, and it's not the case. Like there's a lot of gullible people that consider themselves paranormal investigators or enthusiasts, and that's not what, and that's kind of swaying away from what this field is all about, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No,
go ahead, Mark.
Oh, go ahead, JC. It's okay.
So, like, when I investigate with everybody on our team, since I'm the tech guy, I always tell them, talk louder, so I know who's talking, so that if there is a whisper, then I can determine if it's paranormal or not.
Yeah,
so
don't freaking whisper ever when you're investigating the paranormal. Don't whisper. I can tell every single person's voice on my team from a mile away, but when you're whispering, everyone sounds the same, including you and the ghosts.
Yes. Yep.
Speak loudly and clearly.
Yep. Exactly. Now, we're kind of getting into a little bit about your investigating process. When you went to do an investigation, was there a pre-investigation process that you needed to do before conducting that investigation? Like a walkthrough or something?
I would try and meet with them in advance and kind of just do a walkthrough and kind of a vetting process as well, because we had a lot of people that, I don't want to say crazy, but there's a lot of people in this world that had demons and they weren't of the paranormal sort. And it was obvious.
I'm gonna level with you here. I hope no one takes offense to this, but I've met some crazy people thinking that they had something when they really only had, they had things that were easy to explain what they were.
Yeah.
So if I can walk in and instantly determine that what you're seeing is not paranormal, show me the evidence that shows you that it is paranormal.
Right. And we had one group of people that they thought that dad was like possessed by this demon that was haunting their house, because the dad was doing all these sorts of shitty things. He had actually raped both his daughters and everything like that, and they weren't doing anything about it. And they and when they said that, hi, neighbors to the east, what's up, Toronto? But yeah, and like they were like, yeah, we think there's a demon possessing him. I'm like, there's not a demon possessing him. Your dad's a piece of shit and should be in prison. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah, I
that,
totally get it.
and then another one, this woman told us that this kid was staying at their house with them. Like, this older kid was staying at the house with, because it was her friend's kid. It was her friend's kid and her friend, and her daughter and her. And the older boy, like, the daughter was super afraid of the little boy, and the daughter she thought was possessed by the devil. And she would write stuff on her walls like, I don't like it and stuff like that. And she would always find the little boy in her daughter's room and stuff like that. And I was like, no, this guy is molesting your daughter. Where is your daughter? And she's like, oh, she's over at my friend's house who has that kid. I was like, what the hell is your problem, people?
Right.
No, it's the ghost. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not the ghosts. You need to figure yourself out first before you're worried about ghosts.
Uh-huh.
And
You know-
it's just like running into that stuff. That's kind of what turned me off of the investigating a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When you hear the word demonic or demon or devil or something like that, is there really such thing, or is it in people's imagination?
I mean, I'm pretty I'm not very spiritual, to be honest with you. I'm kind of agnostic, leaning atheist, so I think the biggest demons in this world are people.
I can agree.
Yep. So I think when people are possessed by demons, I think it's their own personal traumas and stuff
Alter
like that.
egos.
And that are leading to this issue more so than an actual antichrist sort of deal.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. There's a difference between evil and there's a difference between demonic.
Right.
Okay. You might run into an evil spirit. All spirits that you come across are not going to be lovely little angels, and that's another thing that gets me too, because they say demons or, devils or whatever are the most evil people or the most evil beings that ever existed. But a really insightful podcast that I had done in the past with, I think it was Ken Allen of the Wizard's Table. He had a really insightful statement that even angels could be evil. When you think of angel, you think of big white wings and just lovely little tunes that they sing and everything. Some angels are evil. Lucifer's brother, is an angel.
Read the Bible and tell me like some of the stuff angels did.
Yes.
Supposedly in the Bible are all good. I mean, they may, like, the Bible wants you to think it is because it was for God's will, but like looking at it from an unbiased standpoint, not a Christian standpoint, the things angels did, not so good.
No. No. So, see, and that's they look at the biblical version of an angel, which obviously is going to be a sweet, loving, guardian of any being, but they're not really looking at the facts and the true known angels, that what they actually did were not so innocent.
Right.
So, I agree with you there. So, but just remember, people, there's a difference between evil and demonic.
And this is all our own beliefs. Like, that's my
Yes.
beliefs versus whatever you want to believe. I mean, it's a free country.
Yeah.
You can believe whatever you want.
Exactly.
So,
All I'm going to say is, before you come at a person full of knowledge, know your facts.
Yeah,
You got to know your facts before you come at somebody, because if you say one thing and this person's belief is something completely different, or we may know the true known fact, you're going to get corrected about it.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm not shy about it either. And some people tell me I should just let it go, but it's just not who I am. as a person,
Right.
really. Like when people post their dust orbs online
Right.
and say, this is a ghost, and people get all huffy and puffy. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
it's that I've seen that a million
Yeah,
times.
Party
That is
pooper,
dust. You need to run a Swiffer through your house.
Yep. That's great. So since we kind of touched a little on the pre-investigation process, when it came to the actual initial investigation, what was your process for setting up, conducting the investigation? Were there any certain techniques that you used, like the Estes method or something like that?
So our method was, we had a home base. We had 4 static cams that we would run cables to. It was a security system that we used for infrared cameras. We'd have one team on home base at any given time, and then we'd have hour sessions in different parts of the location. So the one team on home base was kind of like the support system for the whole thing. If you needed new batteries, because they don't show you in the TV shows how often you have to change batteries or change stuff like that, because it's all the time, constantly
Sure.
changing batteries. And it's not even due to ghosts. It's just this stuff uses a lot of batteries. So
Kind of freezing up a bit.
Yeah.
That
Am
might
I?
be my internet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I good?
Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you. We all
I'm
good?
Yep.
You there?
Can you hear me?
It must be his. Can you hear me, Casey?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
You guys were freezing up. I was just
Oh.
fine. You guys were freezing up.
Oh, yeah.
It might be my service.
So we would have a team on home base at any given point, and different teams in different locations for an hour at a time. And the team on home base was their support system if we needed anything. And then they would rotate every hour where we were at. And that was kind of how we set up. And so we all set up one team at a time on home base. It kind of gave them a break. Plus, they could be the support system. And then hour-long sessions, unless something was going crazy. And then we would make an exception. We didn't want you to leave if you were actively getting communication with something.
Right.
Right.
And then everyone would tear down, and we'd leave. And then we'd exchange memory cards and stuff like that later. But yep, that's how we investigate.
Heck yeah. Sounds like a good process you had there.
And
Okay, so we covered pre-investigation, initial investigation. What about post-investigation? Did you have to reach back out to the client, see how things are going? How'd
Yeah.
that go?
we would ask them how things were going at their house or wherever we were at. We would ask them if everything was going all right, because sometimes things would spike after we left. Sometimes things wouldn't. But we would review evidence. If we didn't catch any evidence, a lot of times we wouldn't make the trip to tell them we didn't. We'd just tell them, hey, we didn't catch anything. This is what we gathered was going on, but if you need any help, let us know. And if we did catch a lot of evidence, we would try and come back and actually physically show them that evidence.
All right.
And
Not
I have some clients that from time to time still message me, and I kind of told them on hiatus right now, but if they really needed me, get a hold of me. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And when it come to investigating, did you have like a limit on what type of venues you would do? Like some people don't want to go any bigger than a gas station or something like that. Did you have a limit?
No, we went all the way from apartment buildings or trailer houses all the way to 80,000 square foot mental hospitals that were
Heck yeah.
four stories tall.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That our walkie-talkies wouldn't even reach each other from across the building. Like we've been in buildings that big before. So nope, anything we could investigate, we were investigating.
There you go. Get your hands on it, you'll do it. That's the way we are. Okay, so let's kind of move a little to the side of Michigan
Yep.
instead. So you kind of talked about the hot spots in the state a little bit. Um, let's talk about the scenario if somebody had traveled to Michigan because they heard it was one of the most haunted states in the United States, and they wanted to explore the entire state for all things paranormal. Why is Michigan the right state for that? Why would somebody want to come to Michigan to focus on paranormal?
Right. We have a lot, man. Like a lot of history here, a lot of historical places. You got Mackinac Island, like I mentioned before. There's Copper Country, which is up in the Upper Peninsula, very top of the Upper Peninsula, probably closer to you than it is me, honestly.
Possibly.
And it's there was all sorts of copper mines and stuff like that up there. Up in the Keweenaw Peninsula is where it's at. All sorts of copper mines all over there back in the day. It was one of the most sought after mining operations in the US. Like some say it was more sought after than even the gold rush. Honestly.
Wow.
So that, and then the Thumb, you have all sorts of these mansions from farmers and stuff like that are out there. So all these mansions that were built, like the Richard C. Burtis house and William Peters mansion, and there's stuff like that out there. And then I haven't traveled too much to like the Grand Rapids area and stuff like that, but I'm sure there's stuff like that out there. We had the Purple Gang in Michigan, which was like a competitor or something like that of Al Capone.
Oh,
so plenty of, because Chicago's hop, skip, and a jump. So there's plenty of speakeasy action, and then logging. Saginaw Bay City area, where I'm originally from, was a huge logging area, as well as where I'm from now. Grayling is still a huge logging area, but back in the day, lumberjacks were just as crazy and rowdy as the Wild West. So we have all sorts of these bars and establishments that had all sorts of violence and stuff like that back in the day, and Bay City, Saginaw area. So yeah, there's just countless reasons why you'd want to check it out, but to name like specific places other than the ones I've already named in Michigan, it'd be kind of hard to pinpoint. You'd have to do your research and go with it, honestly.
Wow. Seems like, it looks like a little state, but looks like it's pretty full of activity. I think it'd be pretty cool.
It definitely is. I mean, it's a cool state to live in, like, and it's a cool state to just explore, like, not even just for the paranormal, but we have a lot of outdoor stuff as well to check out if you can dual purpose your trip. If you were to come to Michigan, a lot of hiking paths, biking paths, stuff like that. So I would check all that stuff out as well while you're already here, if you're coming from a different state.
Right.
And Casey does attend the Michigan paranormal convention.
Oh, the Sioux?
Yeah. It's the end of August, the 21st to the 25th. I go there every year now for the last.
Believe it or not, I've never been. Believe it or not, never been.
St. Marie. It's up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Yep. Yeah, I've always wanted to go. I just have other stuff going on every time. So, I mean, I definitely want to go one of these times. I was almost one of the vendors there.
Yeah, it's amazing up there. Like, the people are really nice.
Yeah.
Where it's at.
That's the UP though, man. There's a lot of cool people in the UP.
Like where I live in Wisconsin, I take that road that's right on the side of the lake all the way up. So we just see that big lake.
Yep, US 2.
Yep.
Yep.
And 5-hour drive. It's not that bad.
No, it's only like 2 hours. I used to drive up there twice a week for work. So
wow.
Yeah. Yep. Only about 2 hours from where I'm at.
You gotta do what you gotta do,
Right. Yep. Well, no, I'm a truck driver, so my delivery route was up there. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
awesome. You ever been over here in Minnesota?
I have, but just to ski at Lutzen. Yep, I went skiing at Lutzen one year. I'm a huge skier, huge canoeer, so I'm really big into the outdoor, and that kind of is why the paranormal sort of took a back seat.
Yeah. How about Wisconsin?
I've been through Wisconsin, but that was just to get to other parts of Michigan because we're like Iron Mountain area and stuff like that. You kind of are back and forth through Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But yep. So that's kind of why the paranormal is another reason why the paranormal is kind of taking a back seat, because I'm huge into the outdoors and skiing, canoeing, hiking, stuff like that. And actually, one of my projects I'm working on, I know we're getting off topic of the paranormal, but one of the projects I'm slowly working on is I want to do a podcast series of all outdoor extreme activities.
That would be cool.
Whether it be it'll be part podcast and part action sequence. So like if I go out with this mountain biker, I interview him and I go mountain bike with him.
That would be
stuff like that. Yeah,
that would be really. Yeah, I would watch that.
Yep.
So would I. Mm-hmm.
It's in the works. It's just I gotta get everything set up for it first, but yep, it's in the works for sure.
Perfect.
So,
all right. So I'll kind of come close to the end of the show here with a couple logical questions for you, because it seems like you're a very knowledgeable and logical person when it comes to paranormal. When it comes to paranormal evidence, what would be an example of gun smoking evidence for you?
Clear and obvious EVP is definitely a big one. Like an EVP that you can hear exactly what it says. And another one would be an apparition. I mean, both of those, it's really hard to. I mean, it's not impossible. There's always someone skeptical enough to disprove it, but for the most part, if you have any belief that it's real, then it's really hard to say it's something else. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're talking like a little mist or something like that. Yeah, anyone that's halfway skeptical is going to disprove it. But you see a person walking across the floor, even if it's just part of a person, or hear a voice like say a complete sentence that no one there would have said. Yeah, it's really hard to that's kind of a
Have you ever had your name called at a location you've been to?
Yeah, yes, I have. Actually, it was at an investigation where, unfortunately, I gotta say I was kind of doubting the guy the entire time until we were right about to leave.
Oh. Wow.
And every indication had been like this guy was kind of just there was logical explanations for a lot of the stuff he was saying, or it was over the top. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And we were about to leave and I heard my name and I was like, we're not doing that.
I've actually had my name called at almost every single location I've been to except one.
And my ex-wife at Bobby Mackey's Music World heard her name as well.
Nice.
In one spot.
We went to the Boyd House one time, not the time I took UKC, but the first time I ever went, my name came through the spirit box in my voice. So they projected my voice and said my name, as well as a lady named Lisa that we had on the team said her name in her voice. So it was super weird because she was all the way upstairs. So
yeah, I mean, so that would be probably my holy grail of evidence, really good EVPs. And that's what a lot of my evidence was EVPs. Yeah. Like I caught a couple apparitions throughout my time, but EVPs were just, they were,
I get EVPs in my own house. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean, EVPs are the bread and butter, I think, of the basis of paranormal investigating in the 21st century.
Yeah.
When it comes to EVPs, what do you think is the best way to capture these? Is it through a SP7, through a voice recorder? How can you clarify it's a legit and genuine EVP?
straight through a voice recorder, man. Like, I mean, spirit boxes are cool for getting responses, but anyone who's in the least bit skeptical is going to say, well, it could be anything through that.
Yeah.
Because,
I not to cut you off here, but
Yeah.
when it comes to an SB7, I never really found too much interest in them because they're a handy tool, but the white noise kind of outweighs the talking.
yeah, and the problem I have with people buying the SB7 and stuff like that, because when I first started, that stuff wasn't really equipment, and it was all like EVP recorder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I saw that coming around, it was just like the fact that people want instant results. They don't want to have to review it, or they want something to communicate with them. Whereas that's just not how it is, man. Like you gotta record on the recorder. You gotta listen to the playback, and you gotta find what's there.
Have you ever thought about this? I seen this as a handy little tool on one of the paranormal teams I'm following on Facebook. But somebody, when we were all little kids, I'm sure you're not like too much older than me, because I mean, when we were little, we had little cassette players. They looked like toys, but they really wasn't. Put a cassette in there, and you could listen to whatever tape you wanted to.
Right.
But these people had took one of those cassette players, put an empty tape in there, and started recording their EVP sessions on there. And then they could just put the tape right back in there and listen back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing when I use digital. But actually, the cool thing, speaking of instant results, I actually have a digital recorder. It's a little higher end, so you have to spend a little more on it than some of the other ones, but you can actually listen to it in live time while you're recording.
Wow.
No, I know Jacob does live recording. I know.
So, I mean, I think straight EVPs, no spirit box or anything like that. I think that is a lot more convincing.
Yes.
Than a spirit box, and then obviously, like I said, full bodied apparition or apparition of any type.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce, we're gonna close the show up here with just a few more questions. First of all, I want to ask, where can our viewers find your work, if you got any out right now?
None out at this moment, but there will be work. I can't guarantee when it'll be. The Au Sable Valley Paranormal Research Society on Facebook, and alternatively, if you're interested in the other podcast that I was talking about, it's called In Descent Exposure. It's kind of a play on words. It's descent as it in descending, like for skiing. Exposure for then that's the outdoors channel, but for paranormal purposes, Au Sable Valley Paranormal Research Society on Facebook. What would be your best bet if you were looking to find what we're all about? And like I said, I can't promise when it'll be out, but we will have more stuff out at some point.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and close the show with the question: if you were to give a piece of advice to a newcomer in the paranormal field, what would your advice be?
Study, study, study. Look stuff up. Don't listen to one person, because you're going to get a lot of people telling you how to do stuff, and you want to kind of look at multiple different people, how different teams do stuff, and then try each of it out and kind of develop your own way. You don't have to do things this way because Ghost Hunters and Taps says you have to do it this way, and you don't have to do things this way because Ghost Adventures does it that way. You look at all different resources and come up with your own way to do stuff, because if you're just trying to follow a certain way, I mean, then you're not really doing what you want to do. You're doing what someone else wants to do. You
got to make it your own. Exactly. Yep. I forgot to ask you one thing during the show. What is your take on working with mediums, sensitive psychics?
I mean, I've worked with them, but I don't have them on my team just because we're kind of all evidence based. but I don't have a problem with working with them. I mean, that's all up to you. However you want to investigate is how you want to investigate, man.
Absolutely. Now, you're evidence based. Would you consider yourself scientific?
Yeah, it'd be very scientific. Like
That's what I am.
that would be mostly what our team are based off of. But yeah, I mean, I've worked with mediums. They've been great every time. I mean,
Absolutely. You know, I just when I work with and I love my mediums on my team. But when you go and you find a medium to work with, you got to test them. You got to make sure they're genuine mediums, and they're not going to just say something, based off of something that they might have heard or whatever,
right,
just to give you a clear piece of evidence that's not really there.
right,
You need to make sure that what the medium gets, they don't tell you what they get, but your documentation lines up with what they get. So that's the best way to kind of test the medium. And my mediums on my team, sorry guys, I've tested you when you first joined the team. I have, I've tested all of my team members. Just saying.
I've had mediums actually on my team, but they didn't really do their medium thing because they actually wanted to explore the scientific side of it.
Exactly.
Or they were like, I've always been doing it this way, so I want to see what you guys are all about, how you guys actually prove stuff's here rather than just me saying stuff's here. So
right. And see, when it comes to working with our mediums, we actually try to do our part first with our equipment and stuff before we let the mediums go off. They can go off on their own all they want, but we're not going to get any information until the very end.
Right.
So that's the best way to clarify without just following what the medium says. So that's the best way to do it. So, all right, guys. Well, I want you to go and show some love over here to Bryce. I almost called you Brian.
Nope, not Brian.
Not Brian. Show some love and support for Bryce and everything that he is coming out with. We definitely look forward to this new podcast, this new team, just a different visual on the field. You really give us some insightful tips and clues, or not even clues, tips and tricks on the paranormal field tonight. So,
pleasure to be of service, and anytime you guys want me back, don't hesitate to message me.
Of course, I'd love to have you back, man.
Feel free to add me on Facebook.
Yeah, I have you, Marcus, and I'll add you as well, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds good, man. It's an open door. You ever want to come back, reach out, or we'll reach out to you. So we want to thank you for your time and sharing all this insightful knowledge with us tonight. So
thanks for having me on.
Yep, you're welcome. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
Yep, you guys too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, guys. Well, I want you to go check out Bryce. He doesn't really have much going on right now, but when everything does come out, I want you guys to go show us some support. Really helpful guy right there. Second time he's been on our show, and he didn't disappoint. So, Casey, it's your first time meeting him. What'd you think of the show?
I loved it. Like me and him were the same. I'm more of the scientific part of it, although my abilities I have, but I don't use that. I use that scientific.
Right. Exactly.
And then it just validates what I come up with.
Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate you guys sticking around watching that portion of our show. Before the show started, I mentioned to stick around after the show for a piece of good news. The good news is that we are currently in the process of rebranding All Things Minnesota Spirit Hunters, and we are very close to being ready to be reopened. So I'm going to give you guys this piece of information that we are reopening in July 2024. New logo, new socials. Sorry, I think I'm catching the cold here, so I'm not feeling the best, but trying to stick it out for you. New logo, new socials, everything. So we really hope you guys are looking forward to this as much as we are. We're going to continue on with our ALL American Paranormal Tour, see where it takes us. And we are almost all the way through all the 50 states. So we appreciate you guys sticking around each and every show and traveling virtually state to state with us. It's been a lot of fun. It continues to be fun. And Casey's been here for the whole ride, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So we think you guys... What's that?
I want to talk to you after you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you guys sticking around, watching our show tonight. Want to remind everybody, check out our sponsors, Dubby Energy, Schneider Customs, Crafty Rebel Creations, and Provoke Paranormal. Lots of things from custom t-shirts, mouse pads, all kinds of stuff like that. Energy drink powders, you name it. Anything, check them out. Links are below. Stick with us next week, Saturday night at 6 p.m. We are heading to Lancaster, Ohio. Ohio will be our next stop on the ALL American Paranormal Tour. We have a brand new face coming to the panel. So stick around, and we'll see you guys then. As always, we hope you guys enjoy the show. We hope you have a great night. Happy hunting.